Hey there, everybody. It's Nikki Jordan here with Got Space, and I wanted to talk to you about my upcoming program that some of you might really find interesting. And I even mean some of you who follow consciousness trainings, because I find that we see ourselves, particularly in my country right now, in a very sticky situation. And how have we not understood what the truth is? How have we been swayed in different ways that has created the quagmires that we are in right now? And part of this is because we don't really know what it feels like to know the truth. We have been seekers, particularly in this country that's always creating something new, always looking for the new edge, always looking for something different. And in doing so, we have oftentimes either left behind parts of our population that really don't need to be left behind, and we have latched on to things that are not really as much the truth as we think they are. And the interesting thing is that the truth is, or our ability to connect to the truth is an ever-evolving thing as human beings. Why is that? Because we've been so stuck in our mind that we haven't actually, we've lost our connection to what all other animals in the world, you can call it things in the world, have, and that is our instinct, intuition, and knowing. And why is it that we have lost that connection? We have lost our connection to our instinct, intuition, and our knowing because we made the mind dominant, and the mind must be in control. The mind is always looking to steer something with discerning and judgment, right? And analysis. And the problem is that we find ourselves now in, we have followed gurus for so long. We have followed political leaders for so long. We have followed ideas for so long that others put out there. We don't even know how to read our own bodies. And to me, it is a very extremely physical thing, very extremely physical, that to know the truth and to know if you're being duped, to know if you're being duped by something that has really helped you. And I say this as someone who has who has studied a lot of different things. Okay, so many of you know I've studied science and engineering, and some of you know that I've worked in business, environmental and social issues they relate to business. Some of you don't know that had to do a lot with politics, and I got to watch politics in the making at very high levels. And then I became a healer, and I didn't become a healer by seeking it. I became a healer by asking the universe what on earth I was meant to do, and then it zapped something right down through me and rewired me. And then I was taught to surrender and listen. Surrender and listen to me. So everything around me that adds to me, that I listen to and study and all of that, I take the pieces that what the universe taught me was how to read my body. It taught me how to read my body and know what the truth is. In order to be the kind of person that they rewired me to be, and they are things that I don't even know. I actually went from a very scientific person to somebody who had to listen because when somebody turned this on in me, something started talking to me and started showing me something. It started showing me so strongly that I said, I surrender. I was worried about my life. I was literally worried about my life, how I was going to proceed now that I had something that contacted me and was showing me how to listen. This was not something in a body. This was something showing me how to listen. And so I spent years, and I was lucky that I had the time to do that. I spent years asking my body and whatever was teaching me how to know the difference between being swayed by something and something that was really important to hear. And as it turns out, I have these little lights that turn on when the truth is spoken and I need to listen. And I say this as someone who has studied with many different yoga gurus, studied with many different philosophers, studied with many different people like consciousness trainers. And like, I will not even take a training that won't add to me, because the lights will tell me not to do this. Some people say you're lucky, you're gifted. Maybe I'm just here to show people that this is possible. Because when I stand in front of people, like even whether it was the Dalai Lama, whether it was some of the famous yoga gurus that I studied for years with because they were just in my town, I could tell the difference between when they were telling me the truth and when they were speaking from their ego, or when they were under the influence of something. And that includes even some of the famous consciousness trainers. I mean, you can go look at my profile. Some of these people are out there, and what you channel at one point in time is not necessarily what needs to keep going. It is something that adds to the world, and then things change. Things change. People need to know how to listen to their own body. One of these people who founded this training looked at me in a teacher training, a certified facilitator training, and said, "You have balls of steel. Balls of gold. How do you know how to do that when other people don't?" And I would look at him, and people revered him, and I would say, "Oh, he's just a man with good information." That's what I said for my teacher who turned the energy on with me. He told me people fall in love with the guru and they forget there's the man. The guru is the channel. The man is the person who lives, or the woman, in the body and is swayed by things. So we need to understand the difference. And when you understand the difference of what you are looking at, listening to, reading, all of that, sensing, then you know yourself. You understand what the truth is for you. And so when I look at the events that are happening in the United States, and then I look at people saying, like, we're at war, and then some people going, we're at war, like there's with each other, they're meaning all different kinds of things. And there's so much trauma. Okay, this is what's really interesting to me. I learned this training called TRE, Tension and Trauma Relieving Exercises, which is about releasing trauma from your body. And you have micro traumas, you have medium traumas, and some people have huge traumas, right? And this runs through your body. It's extremely physical and easy to access to release the trauma because it's held in your body. And part of the trauma, holding on to it, is because we don't recognize that we have it. We don't recognize that we have it. If you have a big one, people are like, well, they've dissociated a little bit, so they need to figure out how to release the dissociation. And as some of you don't know that I teach something called Yamana body rolling. I have a 3-month program that I've been teaching. Anyone can join at any time. But one of the amazing things I want to tell you about is faceball. And this is not related to this course that's coming up. This other course that I'm talking about is something completely different, and it has 2 free introductory classes next week. It's supposed to happen today, but I have something I have to do today. So there is so much trauma that runs through your face. You wouldn't even know it. And if you learned how to open your face, or if you learned how to feel in your face that you have it, you'd be shocked. And when you release it, the rest of your body starts to go with it. Now, why is this important? This is important because we are not reading our bodies almost all the time. And our bodies are encoded with trying to tell us what we do and don't like, what we do and don't want, when we are being swayed, when we are being influenced. And I don't even care if you think it's from something from here, because it's not. Most of what we are swayed by is not from here. It's something you can't see. It's something that you might hear something and it pulls you in a direction, but what is it that happened at some point in time that made you sway in that direction? And when we learn, you don't have to even go back through all the stories. That's the brilliant thing about our body. When we learn how to read our body and move forward, we don't have to look backwards. Think of where we are in the world. I'm just taking my nation. My nation is so confused. I don't care if, it's the right wing, left wing, middle of the aisle, fringe, no wing, consciousness people. I am seeing so much that is messed up simply because people have never been taught how to read their body. And I really believe this is physical education. It is not so esoteric as people think it is. It is really right there inside you. Inside you. And so this is what I feel is so essential to train people, because there's so much journaling and there's so much asking questions, and then people go into clearing loops and people go see practitioners to heal them. What the universe showed me is if I'm overwhelmed by something, that could be a lot of energy I'm feeling, that could be I bit off more than I could chew for the day. I don't care what it is. I lie down, and then in like a 10-minute span, I just I don't even tell it anymore. But what I used to tell my body is to let go. Now my body just knows what I want to do. It knows exactly what I want to do. And I disentangle from everything, and then suddenly arrive woken up and free. It's like feeling really like you've come home, that you're in your own skin, and you're like, what was all that? Okay, so if it can be that easy for me, people like to say, oh, you're different. I am not different. I'm a human being. And by the way, I don't even believe in humanoids and humans, all this stuff that you read in various different practices. That would imply superiority. They try not to imply superiority, but they put it right in there. We are physically in this body encoded to read everything else. And what people like to call stupidity, or whatever people are following that isn't true, that is just an inability to read your own body. And reading your own body seems to not be taught in energy work at all. It's not taught in consciousness. It's not taught in meditation. It's not even really taught in yoga. All of these things I've studied, and I am so grateful, forever grateful, that my very first teacher over 2 decades ago said, you need to listen. You really need to listen. And then, as those of you who've heard me before know, that my dad, who developed the satellite in the United States, he said, the invention comes in the quiet, in the listening. It's actually talking to you. It wants to come in, right? So the way out of the quagmire of the world is the listening and the quiet, right? One thing about COVID is that we got more of that. We can fight it all we want, but what if you took advantage of all of that? And what if everything didn't become a scandal and conspiracy? Oh my God, I am so sick of it. Because scandals and conspiracies require you to think that you're following the truth, when you might be listening to someone else's truth and something else's agenda. And many of those people's truths and agendas aren't even theirs. They don't even know where they got them. What is driving the ship, right? So I would love to take you on a journey with me. So I'm going to have 2 free introductory discussions about this. One is, I made them for worldwide, 12 o'clock noon on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, the 12th. I will have probably red spots on my face from just having come from the getting precancers taken off my face, but that's okay. I have to keep moving on in life here. I can't stop simply because I'm going to not look good, right? And then Thursday at 5 o'clock Pacific, these are all Pacific time because I live in California, 5 o'clock. And I have put the links to the Zoom in this. And then anything you read on or I will put them, and anything you read on my link for the class that's following needs to be updated with those. But the class times, the first one is about your own body, listening to yourself. And what does that feel like? It's a physical education program. The second class, that's on the 23rd. The second class is on the 30th. And that is about the future is calling. Are you listening? What does that feel like? And then what I'm really interested in, You know, because I don't mind people dabbling, but honestly, what I'm really interested in and what I'm here for is to go on a journey with somebody, to take people 8 weeks into demanding more of yourself. Why? Because I did it this year. I do all of this every year. I usually take the public with me, but this year I took the public, and you can find it on YouTube. It's on my YouTube channel, on 8 weeks of demanding more of myself to see what would happen. And I didn't do it every day. I just posted now and then. But the demanding of myself and my personal ability that I've had for all these decades of knowing and listening to my body and knowing what that means and listening to things that talk to me, that are informing me. And I can tell you what those kinds of things are. They aren't just me. They're not just infinite me. There's all kinds of things talking to me. So those I did it for 10 weeks. I did demanding more of myself for 10 weeks following. And the outcome of all of this was more of my own skin, being more who I am. And part of it was really finally relinquishing myself from the influence, even when I thought I didn't have it anymore, the influences of teachers, gurus, leaders of any kind that might have influenced me in any point in time, like not even now. And when I was able to disassociate from it, I'm like, the space is enormous. The space is enormous when you feel yourself. Why? Because then you're truly in your own skin as you in this world, the way that you came to be, and you're connected to everything at the same time. To feel connected to everything at the same time is to not want or seek or lack. How many people feel needing right now? I need to get to nature. I need to be in the water. I need something that's missing, right? For me, I can just call it up. It's like, oh yeah, there you are. Whale, there you are. Beautiful fish in Guam. There you are. Something I did 45 years ago. There you are. It's all there. It's all added to me, including the things I haven't even done yet. Why? Because I'm connected to it. I'm connected to the fabric of what's there because it's just like DNA. Every cell in your body knows what everything else is supposed to do. There's a map, right? But that cell expresses itself as a liver cell or a brain cell, right? Or a tongue cell, a nerve cell, right? And you are the same. You are an expression of you are an expression of what you are here, but you are connected to everything. And that is what I learned as a child. It was a phenomenal thing when the universe shut off everything one day when I was sitting next to somebody and I felt everything connected and breathing as one. And I thought it was an event. I thought the person sitting next to me experienced it too. And when I told him, he's like, nah, I didn't experience that at all. And I don't know how long it lasted. But then when I came back to in my body as a human being with separation in skin, that a body that separates from me, from everyone, I go, oh, wow, there's that and there's this. And then I was forever curious until I met the man who turned on my energy. And I met him before I followed anybody, meaning learned from people. And I have family members who were worried that I was following gurus, that I was becoming parts of cults. I'm like, you don't know me. I will never do that. I will always take in the information they give me. But I know those are just people, and those are just people just as swayed as everybody else. They just might be way more powerful at delivering their message. And then, in fact, hooking everybody. How do you think we get in this world, though, with all these problems? We've hooked and swayed a bunch of people and they don't even know it. It's like being duped. So this class is about unduping yourself, unbeing swayed, and not being righteous about it. There's no righteousness in being you. Zero. It's just comfort. It's just comfort. And I know the spiritual community has very much struggled with this because it always has to find the angle to say more, to bring people in. What if there isn't anything more to say? I remember one time an older Indian guru said, He said, why is everybody, it was talking about the United States, because we do this in this country. The theoretical leaders of the Western world, look at us, we're a joke. We make things so vital and so important, right? And he said, it's just yoga. Why is everybody trying to make it something more than it is, right? So I'm here to tell you, your connection to your infinite spirit and everything around you is way more simpler. And it doesn't cost thousands and thousands of dollars. It literally doesn't cost thousands and thousands of dollars to know this. You might need someone to hold your hand a little bit more, but you don't need to spend fortunes learning to be exactly what you already are. This is a physical education course. What I'm going to teach you is like physical education, except for we've never called it that. We don't have a vocabulary for that, right? And if you need to spend fortunes of money to go believe somebody, go ahead and do it. That's fine. But this is not that expensive, my class. And it may, in fact, free you from everything that you thought you needed in order to be conscious, in order to be aware. Because consciousness and awareness is really just inside. It's a physical education course. It literally is. So I hope you'll join me. And particularly, let's have fun on Tuesday at noon and Thursday at 5 p.m. Those are Pacific Standard Times in California. Come if you're curious, come. And then the teaching follows. The facilitation of you follows. That's what these add-on 2 individual classes in the course is about. It's a facilitation of you to become and know this, right? So anyway, I hope that inspired you, because I often get bored. Like, should I even bother? Because look what everybody wants. They want to be swayed. They think they want to know the truth, but they want to be swayed. So I don't want to give up, particularly now. We can't give up. Let's move to the next plane. And everybody following 5th dimension and all of that, it's like with this work I'm going to show you, you don't even need to worry about that. That's just part of it. Just part of it. I think we've made this way too complicated, and we make it something you have to attain. Nuh-uh, it's right there. You don't have to attain it. It's right inside you. Okay, have a nice day. And I'm sorry I canceled today, but it'll be better the way I did it. Have a nice day.